This is the Art Life video blog, day 168. Right.
Your name?
My name is Jena.
My name is Jacob Wolff. Thank you, Jenna, for having me here today.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking with you. I had no idea that you were so, involved artistically.
Oh yeah, I downplay myself a lot.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I paint and create a lot of things, for fun mostly, and for money when I have the opportunity. And that is all.
Right on. When did you start developing an interest in art?
You know, I've always sewn or drawn or played instruments, and I never really painted because I needed things to be just right, and I never seemed to be able to get them that way. So when I started painting, I kind of developed a style is almost, I would say, juvenile, where it doesn't have to be exact, where the little smudges and the things that are wrong kind of give it character and personality. So I've stayed completely away from photorealism and leaned more into sort of cartoon, things inspired by youth rather than realism.
Definitely. Who were some of your early inspirations?
All of the women in my family create things. My grandmother makes custom upholstery and different interior decorating things for a living. My mom does these insane, intricate, knitted and beaded sculptures. And so I grew up in a house where it was never really talked about or built up, but it was always happening. These very innovative women that were just a daily part of my life. So as I grew, it was always learning to use a sewing machine or learning to embroidery, or it just kind of was part of my bread and butter.
Right on. So it wasn't even a big deal to you. It was just a part of life.
Yeah, it was just the way we lived. So it never occurred to me that it was special or interesting. It just was,
My grandmother was the artistic one in my family growing up, and it was always arts and crafts.
Yes, exactly.
And anything serious about it, it wasn't a serious thing for me. Really, it was fun, and it was with my grandma, so it was like a bonding experience as well.
Yes, that's exactly how it was for us. It was kind of a thing to sit down and do together, whether it be a puzzle or learning to cross stitch or something, things you did together to both bide the time and just have a good, enjoy yourself.
What were some of the early things that you really enjoyed creating? That maybe you liked it and maybe wanted to keep going?
Yeah, well, one of the very first things I did on my own without a pattern or any instruction was I started making my own purses when I was 10. And I explored a lot with different mediums. I made one where all the straps were made out of chain, rather than fabric, or I just checked out a lot of different designs and, what happens if you do this. So that was probably the first thing at a really young age that I did. And then when I started painting, I found acrylic that I just love. Oil is kind of an artist's paint, and I'm not patient enough to wait for it to dry. So acrylic and latex have been my kind of true loves as far as art goes these days. Paint pens too. Oh man.
I haven't gotten into paint pens yet, but I have ideas that I think I will be able to implement paint pens and do better than I can with a brush.
Yeah, they're fun, and they're very for fine lines and very exact things. They're so much easier because those fine line brushes just curl and they become a mess.
Did you take classes for art?
I took a lot of classes in high school that I would consider art classes, things like wood shop and welding and ceramics, but I never actually took art. I took all of the other things that were art related.
So very like spread out. You did a lot of different mediums.
As long as it was always about using my hands, and actually art class never interested me because I felt like there were too many rights and wrongs. Whereas in something like ceramics, or wood shop, you have this huge area of flexibility. And in art class, I feel like portrait drawing and perspectives and things just felt too. Uh, there were too many rules.
Well, and especially in like early classes and even later classes, there's assignments. So you have to do the assignment, and you have to do it the way they want you to do it. And then you have the ability to play around inside of their guidelines. So it's, I don't know, there's good and bad things to it.
There is no aspect of my life that I'm good at assignments or rules. It's just not, never been a strong point of mine. I think my personality is too flippant for too many guidelines.
So when about did you start getting serious with like wanting to pursue painting and
I almost wouldn't say I ever got serious about it. It just kind of happened to me. I started painting because I found a free plywood dumpster outside of my house, and my daughter had some paints, and so I started kind of creating things with her. I found that I could get free records from the record store next to my work, so I started playing with spray paint and stenciling.
Huh.
And I got to the point where I had all this stuff I made laying around my house and was taking up a lot of space. And the restaurant that I was working for featured an artist once a month for a month. And so I just hung my art up thinking that it would get it out of my way. I didn't actually expect it to sell. And I sold almost all of it to the point where I was having to go home and make more just to hang up. And that's kind of how I got started. I had no idea people would even like it. And the reception just, I started getting commissions and people leaving me, with their money, they would leave notes about how much they loved it or how they had come back and bought another piece. And
wow.
it was such a good feeling, to have people appreciate what you were doing and really like it. And to be honest, it shocked me. I had no idea. And I've never actually sold art for a set price. I've always made it donation only. And so the idea that people would even give me money was just flabbergasted me. The most I ever sold a piece for was 80 euros, which made me really happy. That was what somebody had. They had just gotten back from a trip. And it wasn't a large painting, it was about this size. And that was what they thought that it was worth to them. And it just felt good,
Red.
Yeah, because if they'd asked me, I'd have told them $25. So it was cool to see that people were receiving it, and they actually valued it more than I did. It felt good. So that's where I am now. And the more that I do, the more that I find people want me to do. And it's becoming that way with the murals also. I did one for my boss, and then people see that and they ask you to do another, and people hear that you're doing murals and then they want you to do them. And so it almost gets to the point where it's a bit overwhelming. As it is now, I have a mural that starts in the works in a couple of weeks, and now I've already got 2 more that people want me to draw concept drawings for. And it starts to feel a lot like pressure.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many murals do you think you've done?
I've only done 2 or 3. This one on the outside of this gentleman's house will be my 4th one, and it's going to be a loose replica of an ancient cave painting in France that he really likes.
Huh.
So it'll be cool. It'll be a fun one. I get to add some of my own ideas in, because I'm a big fan of anthropology, And so I get to add some different aspects of cave paintings that I like into this one kind of cohesive wall, which will be really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Uh, when was your first show?
Gosh, that would have been maybe 3 years ago, maybe a little less, 2 or 3 years ago, and then they've just been just coming after that. The restaurant that I work for has 3 locations, and each location does local art, and so I've been one's downtown, and then the southeast and northeast, or North Portland, and so I've hung at each of those locations, and been well received at all of them. But other than murals and yarn bombing and things like that, those are the only places I've actually sold art. We're thinking about doing last Thursday, so I have to look up what is required there, but that would be fun. So that was a thing. And then we were thinking about this summer just going down to the waterfront and sitting on a blanket and seeing how it goes.
I want to go down to the waterfront because in order to sell art, you need a permit. But they don't have a problem with you going down creating art or even giving away art. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down with art that I don't really care for or care about. Not that I don't care for it, but with a big sign that says free art, donations accepted or donations appreciated. And just sit out, create art, and talk to people. And
yeah. Well, and if nothing else, you got to sit and create art in the sunshine,
yeah.
you know?
I love going out there to do that. It's so much fun.
It feels good to be in both nature and public and be creating. The thing I've noticed about doing murals specifically is when you're doing art outside, all of a sudden you become very approachable. People who would never usually stop and talk to you, let alone anyone, they stop and they want to know what you're doing and why and how long, and it becomes really cool. It's like a temporary mini community you've created just by existing, you know, and doing something you love. So it's amazing how art and music have a way of bringing strangers together.
Are you showing your work anywhere right now?
No, I just I started working less in the actual workforce and painting more, and so I kind of have an Etsy store up and going. I haven't really worked out all the nuts and bolts of it yet, and that's been pretty well received. I've gotten a lot of views and a lot of like the hearts people click on, but I haven't sold anything yet, so I kind of want to see how that goes. But I so much prefer person to person art rather than this kind of cold online shopping art.
In case somebody was curious, what is your Etsy site?
It's called Brain Backwash.
Brain Backwash.
Yeah, it's the name of the site, and the shipping and some things are still pretty iffy. But if anyone sees anything on there that they like and they just message me, then I can figure out a better way. The technicalities I'm struggling with a little bit. Computers are not my friend.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with. I started an Etsy, but I put up an initial amount of art on there and haven't updated it since. I haven't sold anything, but I do get views through it. And
it just seems like I think that the way I would rather go is Saturday markets. You know, Saturday markets and last Thursday, if I can really, and I haven't done it yet, but if I can make a couple $100 a week, both in art and at a Saturday market, then I wouldn't really have to work.
Yeah.
You know, and what I'm finding is that I'm afraid to work less and paint more because it just feels so scary.
I was going to ask about the yarn bombing. When did you start doing that? Like, how did you hear about it, get interested in it?
You know, I kind of had seen a little bit of it here and there just walking down the street. And then my friend got me a book because I crochet, you know, scarves and beanies and whatever. But my friend bought me a book for my birthday about yarn bombing. and I just thought it was so fascinating. So I started the stop sign sweaters, and putting those up, and then just being so well received by the people that were seeing me do it, old people and young people. And so I kept it up, and I transformed it in a lot of ways. I did some yarn covered cans that had the same idea as like when people tie shoes together and throw them over the power lines. Well, I did that with yarn and cans and made these like really cool kind of individual art pieces. We did a lot of like the fence weavings, what I would call tree doilies, where they're kind of like a lace edging on a tree. And I actually got some of my girlfriends into it too. I'm still working on my roommate. We're gonna get her there someday. But yarn bonding is fun because it doesn't need to be exact, and you can use anything you have. Old buttons, old lace. On top of the initial crochet piece, there isn't really any rules. It's and it's still kind of a newer guerrilla art form, so there's a lot of room to decide what yarn bombing means for you. It's a cool one.
How have people reacted to that? Like, have you gotten to see people's reactions or hear about it? Or
people love it. The last time I put one up, 3 different people at least stopped, and they, you get the little old lady saying, "I was wondering what to do with my leftover yarn," and you get young people, thanking you for adding to the community. And again, just like in my regular art, it's a lot of vibrant primary colors, and people just say that it really brightens the neighborhood up. Not to mention, I imagine that some of the more avid bikers appreciate the cushion between that metal pole and their fancy bike.
Yeah.
It can help in some ways, maybe.
Makes sense.
But it definitely, overwhelmingly, the response has been positive. People love it.
Right on.
Yeah, it feels good.
What is the best way for somebody to get a hold of you if they wanted to do a commission for a mural or a painting?
My Facebook is on and off because social media infuriates me. But I have an Instagram. It's Jena Mary Jane. They could always find me on Etsy or Instagram or I don't know. Shoot me a text. Yeah, I'm pretty easy. Instagram's probably a good one. If my Facebook is on, it's Jena Renfro, and my actual phone number is on my Facebook because I'm pretty open about that stuff. It depends on the mood I'm in, how mad I am about my roommates tagging me and things. So that one's undependable. But Instagram is always on. It's Jena Mary Jane, and you can actually see some of my yarn bombs, some more street art, and a handful of actual paintings on my Instagram.
Right on.
Yeah.
What are some of your goals? Where do you want to see yourself go or aspiring to go?
I am currently looking into financial, I forget what it's called. It's similar to making yourself a nonprofit. And what I would like to do, not to support myself, but on the side, is get into making interactive murals in children's spaces for free. And in order to do that, I need to have a donor base. But what I would like to incorporate are things like chalkboard paint and things into murals in places like Boys and Girls Clubs and public schools and libraries, so that the kids can add to the art, so that they can be a part of it. And then obviously, so whoever's in charge can clean it up, and so more kids can come along. Similar to how you see in, say, a bar bathroom where there's a door that gets graffitied and then they paint over it and it gets graffitied again. I'd like to see places that children are all the time and art pieces that they can actually interact with. I think that would be ultimately my goal for my art is creating a space where a community could be a community and live with my art instead of just look at it.
Right.
So hopefully.
That's cool.
Yeah, wish me luck. It's a lot to traverse, but I'm working on it.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm sure that there are lots of places that are going to be interested in having something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to navigate the Waddles Boys and Girls Club right now. The mural has been approved, but I haven't gotten the start date yet, or the and that's the reason I'm looking into becoming a nonprofit. Is if I am my own nonprofit, I don't have to wait for them to give me these tax forms and all these things. I'll be able to organize all of that and come to them ready to do the project. So I'm working on one for the Waddles Boys and Girls Club, and for hopefully in the near future an elementary school near Mount Tabor. And so those two both I plan to have be interactive both for the teachers and for the children. So there will be, out of reach spaces where important things can be posted, and then all of the fun places for the kids.
Neat.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that is something that I can see to completion.
What kind of themes are you thinking about for these places? Are they going to be... Because I really wanted to show these off. Check these out. These are red. A little voodoo doll here. What kind of themes are you going to have, or style are you going to use for these?
Each one will be a little different. The one for the Boys and Girls Club is basically a huge amount of kind of encouraging phrases, things like be polite and say thank you. And then in the middle, there's just a big area where they can add their own kind of thoughts or doodles or whatever. The one for the elementary school is actually outside of the library. So I like the idea that libraries are segmented. You have a science fiction section, and you have a historical section, and a reference section. And what I'd like to do with that one is keep that in mind and have like a little sci-fi space, and maybe a place where it says, what's your favorite sci-fi character, or it'd be fun to do something like one of those monsters with his stomach empty, and you can fill in what you thought was in there. But I like the idea of like little pockets of places to create, so it's not just like one big empty wall. That's going to be overwhelming for any kid or adult. But if you make it really easy and kind of give them suggestions, I think their little minds will just go for it, So that would be great.
The last thing that I wanted to talk about is the gallery that I throw for the artists that I interview. This particular one coming up is on June 24th. It's the fourth Friday of the month, and the gallery's called Fourth Effin' Friday. It's going to be at Refuge PDX, which is a venue near the waterfront on the southeast side. And it's a giant venue, but it's for all of the artists that I've interviewed so far. Got an invite, and that's a lot of artists. So we've got like 10 musical acts. We've got getting close to 60 artists, I think, on the lineup. And there's going to be live painting, body painting, just all sorts of crazy shenanigans, and it'd be really great if you were willing to be a part of that.
I definitely am, and I'm really looking forward to it. That sounds like a lot more fun than any of the places I've shown yet.
So, a little bit about it. There's going to be 2 hours the day of for setup, and I'm waiting to get approval for setup a couple days before as well. But she's thinking we're going to have some time before the day of, which would be great. But 2 hours the day of for setup, and then we'll close down for an hour from noon till 1 for everybody to have lunch or go to the bathroom or whatever. And then the venue, the gallery, starts at 1 p.m. until 1 a.m. So it's going to be pretty much an all-day event. And
All day.
Until 9 o'clock, there's no door fee, but there is a suggested $5 to $10 donation. It's not required, but if you do donate, every $5 that somebody donates gets a raffle ticket, and then all of the artists involved have the option to donate something small into this raffle, and then all day we're going to be raffling off art. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll stop doing the raffles, and it's just a $5 door charge. But there's a bar. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of music.
That sounds great.
It's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm trying to like put everything into a small amount of time. And
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. But I'm stoked. It's going to be a blast.
That sounds wonderful. I'm excited to be involved with it.
Do you have any last comments, questions, concerns?
No, I don't think so.
It's been a pleasure interviewing you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Sir.
It's been great. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Art Life Video Blog. What did we say? Day 168?
168.
All right. We'll catch you soon.